welcome to this boys haircut tutorial. I'll talk you through the simple steps that I would use to produce this popular and highly commercial boys hairstyle. This hair type is slightly wavy, the texture of the hair is smooth and there's a lot of it, so it's very dense. I'm going to separate the hair at the top at the recession point using these hair grippers. Now I'm going to use a number 2, which is a 6mm guard, and go in with the teeth at the very hairline. Now you can see the shape that I'm trying to form here. I'm going to go in with a clipper and just go straight up off the side of the head without rounding over onto the top of the head. You'll notice right away with this haircut as I start there's little lines there. That's okay, that's hair that's stuck under the guard of the clipper when I'm working. It can be caused by the hair lying very flat. There's 2 ways to get around that, and that's either to make multiple passes or to taper away with a shorter number. I'll deal with it as this haircut progresses. I'm working my way round to the back now, and it's the same thing. I'm just working my way up and being careful not to follow the shape of the head. I'm just working straight up and I carry on off of the head. So pull the ear out of the way and just go against the grain there on that bit. A lot of kids have an indentation at the back of their head, so it's a good idea to get them to tuck their chin down. This is where the trapezius muscle comes up the back and it joins to the skull, and in between the 2 muscles there can be indentation. It's very prominent mainly in children. So glide up straight off. You can kind of see the direction that I'm taking here. I don't want to cut away that hair on the top, on the crown. I am going to cut that with scissors later on, and I'll show you a really good technique that you can use just on that crown area. Over on the other side, the same thing. This gives you a nice angle. You can see how I'm gliding off with the clipper. You can see the angle I'm gliding off. Now it's important that the head is straight, because the trajectory that you're taking with the clipper is straight up. So if your client is tipping their head over, it's hard to get that trajectory, the straight trajectory going straight up. At the back, let's make sure we get the teeth in. I'm going to get the teeth right in at the hairline and then work my way up and just make a few passes here. This isn't getting stripy like the other side, but I just want to make sure that I've got every single hair, and you can kind of see that shape that I wanted to make. It's like a ridge that I've formed because the long hair on the top is going to hang over the side of that. Another way to remove lines is to crisscross the hair. So what I'm doing is I'm just crisscrossing with the clipper, and that way I'm getting the hair in different directions, and that can potentially lift that hair up. When I crisscross this little area where there's an indentation, I must make sure that I get him to put his chin down again, just so I can get in really as perfectly and as close as I can. Once the head is lifted back up, that is as good as it's going to get. You're not going to get any closer unless you taper it. So I'm going to do a little bit of tapering now. I'm going to use the number 1. I'm just going to go up to the top of the ear with the number 1 just to taper this edge away. Right about there. Once I've done that, I can move on to the 1.5. That's 4.5mm, and I can go up a little bit higher, and this will get rid of some of those lines that I made. You see them there? So I'm going up a little bit higher, and that's going to make them vanish. I am going to come back with another guard, which is what's known as a 1.5 guard, even though that's what we're doing here. So make sure you clean off all the debris and make sure you don't miss anything. Over at the back, I'm just putting the number 1 on again, the 3mm guard, and I'm going up about as high as I did on the side burn area, not too high, then switch it, just by using the lever, push the lever down and go up a little bit higher. You can see again, I don't want to go as high as I did with the 2, but I can go fairly high, but I don't want to take out that hair that's at the ridge just where I want the support for the long hair on top, so it's important you don't go as high as that. Here's a good way to think about it. A number 2 and a number 1, and bang in the middle of the 2 is the 1.5 that we're using here. So that's going to be the length to join the 2 together, and it shouldn't be noticeable. There shouldn't be any noticeable line between those 3 different lengths. Over on this side, the same thing, up to the ear, Clean that area up, and then I can put the lever down and just work up a little bit higher again into the temple area. Now that area didn't have as many lines, the hair obviously wasn't lying as flat. When going around the ear, make sure you lift off the high corner and keep the low corner around the skin of the ear. Right, now this guard, this is a 1.5. This is exactly what we had with the number 1 with the lever down. But if I just put this 1.5 guard on, I can go over all my work again just to try and get any lines out. I just want to go over it one more time, another pass. If you don't have a 1.5 guard, that's okay. You don't need to be that fussy, as strict as I'm being here. On the front of the face, I'm just going to pull this hair down with the comb to the hairline. I'm not going to cut inside the hairline, although some people do cut inside the hairline there to get a more bolder line. I don't think that's a really good idea on kids. It doesn't work and you get a bad regrowth. I mean, I'm not saying don't do it, but on this hair, I don't need to. Now, there's a little heavy line there. I'll come back to that. I'm going to use the corner of the trimmer just to go around the ear. And then at the back, a straight line from the curvature of the ear. And I'm just going to go straight down. I don't want to follow the hair round on the hairline. Just straight down to make a straight line there. That's okay. I'm not going inside the hairline. I'm just taking away the neck hair. And then I'll just work my way up. Can you see by the ear how it makes it slightly more neat when you do that straight line? And we'll have this nice taper going in here as well. The same on the other side. Match that in, make a nice straight line. This trimmer that I'm using, it is an Andis T outliner. They're actually really good. They come out of the box with a really tight blade, and the teeth have a really narrow gap in between them, so I've never had to adjust it or do anything with it. It cuts really clean. As they say, it hits hard, but it doesn't cause abrasion on the skin. I'm just using a half here, just on those little edges that I wanted to soften. Now, let's hit this with loads of water. Loads of water for scissor cutting. And I'm going to pull all this hair over, and what I want to do is I want to create this kind of shape with the hair, and I can do that using over direction if I pull sections back towards the ear. So this is going to be like a triangle. Let me explain, let me show this better. Okay, so the section looks like a triangle when I pull it out. Do you see that? So that's a triangle. And I'm going to take triangular sections as I work my way towards the front. So at this point, I'm just pulling them straight out and I'm cutting straight up the fingers. Now, as I step forward, I'm starting to pull the section back a little bit towards my first triangle that you saw me cut. Okay, can you see how I'm pulling them all back? This is going to make it longer towards the front. It's a process called overdirection. I'm sure if you've been following my videos, you've probably seen that a few times. So you can see how far I'm pulling it back from the front. And again, I'm going to try and get this. I'll get it all pulled back. Try and get it as smooth as you can. Pull it right back. Comb it through. Pulling it back. And that's going to retain the length at the front. You see there's very little coming off just at the top of my knuckle there. So when I release it, it's much longer towards the front. Now I'm going to rest this on the comb, and I'm just going to check to make sure if there's anything hanging out that I need to take off. Okay, that looks good. Let's take a look at the other side. You can see again, here's that shape. This is what I want to produce if I want to have like a middle parting or a curtains type haircut, which is very popular right now. So first section, trim that as normal, it's a little triangle. And then as you move forward, your triangles are going to start getting pulled back towards your first one. This is about the stage here where I would begin to start pulling the back. Make sure you get your section nice and clean. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that hair, push that hair forward, and try and get in right at the root so that you have a nice clean section. And cut down the fingers. So this is starting to come back now, over-directed back. That's a really good phrase if you're describing to anyone else this process. Call it over direction. So rather than just the normal direction, it's more than the direction, more than 90 degrees. You pull it further back than what you would just in a standard layered haircut, like a uniform layer. So I'm combing this all through from the front, pulling it right back, and trim down. Alright. But again, I'll have to check this just along the comb just to make sure that it is straight at an angle. So my angle is a straight line and there's no long hair hanging out. It's not quite long enough at the front. That's just because I haven't cut anything from there, but I would like it to reach down a little bit further. That's okay though, no big deal. At the back, we'll pull out sections here, and the top one will be longer than the bottom. This is scissor over comb. So the scissor goes in, lifts the hair up, and the comb goes underneath. Pull it out, trim across the comb, and work your way down from there. This method is preferable to me because I like to take the weight away from above. I don't like to work my way up into weight, into the heavier hair. I find it easier to work that way. I'm in the same place here, but I'm just pulling the hair out from the crown and making sure that there's no extra long hair right from the center of the crown that's hanging out. That's fine. And if I step to the left and to the right of the crown, I can do the same thing. I don't really want any overhang here. The overhang I want is going to be at the temples, as you can see in this image. That helps us to get that curtains look. Again, on the right hand side of the crown, trim that down, take the weight out of it, scissor over comb, and then what I'm doing here is I'm working my way up just scissor over comb, with the comb and the scissor working together in the same line. They're together, and you just smooth over the hair with them. That takes out any little imperfections. You should only be taking dust off with that technique. I'm going to check now just down the middle and make sure that there's no like extra long, really long strands of hair right in the center. There isn't really. To be honest, I wanted more hair on top. I think it's okay, but you really want a lot of hair coming from the middle, and you don't really want to be taking that away for the curtains hairstyle. So I'm blow drying it back. It's looking quite good. I'm quite happy with that so far. Just blow dry it back and it'll fall in the middle into curtains. Over here I felt it was a little bit heavy, so I'm pulling some of the fringe out of the way, and I'm just going in with my big texturizer, and I'm going to take some hair from underneath just to reduce the weight. Okay, here we go. Here is the curtains hairstyle. Look at that face. He loves it. Well, I think he loves it. I'm not sure. He loves having a fringe, and I can also style it like this. And this is how he left the shop, because this is the way he always has his hair. This is my son, by the way, and I want to say big thank you, Hugo, for helping me out today. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed the video and you learned a lot from this today. I'll see you again in my next video.